To the honorable representatives of Parliament and other officials of the Japanese government, to our hosts and organizers of this event, led by Dr. Akihiko Tanaka, President of JICA, Dr. Kamarul Zaman Zam Askandar of the University Sans Malaysia, to Mayor Matsui has left, but I greet him as well. He represents the people of Hiroshima, who symbolize the world's need and desire for peace. To our partners in the Bangsamoro peace process, led by Chair Al-Haj Murad Ibrahim of the MILF, to other Bangsamoro leaders and community representatives, to our partners from civil society organizations and international development agencies, to my fellow representatives from the Philippine government, to the members of media and other parties, ladies and gentlemen. A peaceful morning to us all. Assalamualaikum, Ohayo gozaimasu. First of all, I would like to congratulate and thank the organizers of this conference, namely the Research and Education for Peace of the University Sans Malaysia and the Japan International Cooperation Agency, for the perseverance and vision that have made possible the holding of the 6th Consolidation for Peace program, or COP6. Starting in 2006, the two partner organizations have managed to organize this gathering of multi-stakeholders almost every other year and a half, to look into and accompany the peace processes in Aceh, Mindanao, and southern Thailand, with 3 of the 6 conferences, including this current one, focused solely on Mindanao. To have kept faith with the Mindanao peace process for the last 8 years has certainly required patience and fidelity. Maybe the better word is tenacity. And I must surmise with a good dose of hope and imagination as well, as these past years have seen some of the darkest hours of a peace process that, truth to tell, hardly stayed on track, moving from good to bad sometimes in an instant, yet somehow recovering ground in ways no one could have foretold. That we are able to come together on the 8th year for the 6th such gathering certainly speaks to us and to the world of the power of tenacity and hope in making peace. And I thank USM and JICA for not letting go and not giving up, together with the rest of us here and the many others who have been part of this process, and the many more who are joining us and expanding our ranks every day. There are many veterans of the COP process who are with us this morning. May I ask those who have attended every COP from number 1 to number 6 to stand up and be acknowledged? There are, right? Yeah. Let's give them a big hand for being among the faithful pilgrims for peace. On the other hand, there are some here who are attending for the first time, and the rest of us are COP veterans in varying degrees. The COP has truly grown to embrace a wide community, a large extended family, and this year is a very special reunion indeed. On my part, this is only my 2nd COP, and it turns out also my 2nd time to deliver one of the keynote addresses. I joined the COP family only in 2012 for COP5. When COP1 was held, I had just left government, and the peace process was beginning to move into shaky ground, with unsteady leadership in OPAP and the survival of the Arroyo presidency increasingly under threat. In 2008, the striking down of the MOA AD by the Supreme Court ushered a period of darkest despair and terror. Fortunately, enough people of goodwill persevered to produce a declaration of continuity for peace negotiations, with which the past administration passed a battered peace torch to the Aquino government. COP5 was held in January 2012 in Penang, like all the earlier conferences. The Aquino presidency was midway into its 2nd year, and the resumption of formal peace negotiations was nearing the completion of its 1st year. And oh, what a year 2011 was for the peace process. Formal talks had restarted in Kuala Lumpur in February, which renewed process, perhaps not so unexpectedly, encountered difficult rebirthing pains, which caused the president to embark on a short trip that, however, gained gold mileage for the peace process and firmly lodged Japan in the annals of Philippine peace history by hosting that first meeting between the president and Chairman Murad, which startled the world and re-energized the struggling peace negotiations. But it would still be far from easy. In September, with talks held during the Ramadan, the MILF rejected the GPH 341 proposal, which rejection the GPH promptly rejected. Hardly had the parties recovered from the setback with the decision to go back to a clean slate at the peace table when the Albarca crisis broke out in October. This tragic misencounter could have brought us back to vicious violence, except that President Aquino firmly said no to all-out war, and instead sounded the true leader's call for all-out justice, which, once we heard it, we knew it was what we needed to hear and to accomplish. And thus the peace process crossed safely over to 2012. Why do I recount the narrative of the peace process in 2011? Because it helps us realize and appreciate even more what the peace community has been able to accomplish between COP5 and COP6. When I reviewed the keynote address I delivered at COP5 in January 2012, I could not but remark on what a difference 2 years have made. In January 2012, peace talks were ongoing. The ceasefire was holding well. The peace architecture was in place and robust. Nevertheless, there was still so much uncertainty. Across the negotiating table, crossed wires and mixed signals still needed untangling. While trust between the two parties had been planted, its roots had not yet grown deep within our souls. Rereading my speech in 2012, I find that I was still very much engaged in trying to convince people, including maybe some people in government, about the seriousness of government in pursuing the end of armed conflict. I still felt the need to sell the idea that despite its many challenges, peace was possible and within our reach. And so it is a very good thing indeed to be where we are today in our peace process. It has taken the adoption of decision points and principles in April 2012, which served as the foundation of the Framework Agreement on the Bangsamoro, signed in October 2012. Thereafter fleshed out in 4 annexes and 1 addendum, completed over a 15-month period, now all bound in the Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro, together with earlier agreements signed by the two parties. The past 2 years saw many more heart-stopping moments, but special days and seasons brought us gifts of hard-earned consensus, particularly the Annex on Power Sharing during the Ramadan of 2012, the Wealth Sharing Annex during Advent later that year, and the Annex on Normalization and Addendum on Bangsamoro Waters on President Cory's birthday in January this year. Thus today and in the next 2 days, the Consolidation for Peace program can and will focus on post-agreement implementation, specifically on building capacities for peace. This is Consolidation for Peace on a whole new plane, with different challenges and unprecedented opportunities. And it is truly appropriate that we embark on this next stage of the COP process here in Hiroshima, which is one place where we must shout at the top of our voices to condemn war. Here we pause to reflect among ourselves and gain strength, seeking to honor the unspeakable pain that has been wrought here by war and which continues to claim victims to this day. Here we affirm that while war brings pain and destruction, it may also lead to new seasons of joy and rebirth. We see it here in Hiroshima, and gathering here, we reassert our claim on hope and new beginnings. Today, we start our gathering in a season of joy and rebirth, because peace is at hand in the Bangsamoro. In July, when Congress reopens, the President will submit the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law to Congress. Before the year ends, our legislators, through the leadership of the House of Representatives and the Senate, have committed to pass it as law, which is bringing about much-needed political and socio-economic reforms under a new regional government. This will be followed by a plebiscite early next year in the areas under the scope of the law, ensuing a brief transition period until regional elections are held in May 2016. As we move to achieve these political milestones, the parties have also begun to put in place a comprehensive and sustainable normalization process that will, through a multi-track approach, ensure that the weapons and the forces of the MILF are put beyond use and communities are transformed from conflict and despair to hope, productivity, and a chance to rebuild and renew. We dare to say it is a democratic process bursting into full bloom. From that rare and historic meeting between the President and Chairman Murad in Narita almost 3 years ago, we are now at the cusp of an enduring peace. The Aquino administration, with the help, support, and encouragement of our CSOs, local governments, other stakeholders, and the international community, shall continue to strengthen the politics of reconciliation and the ramparts of a permanent peace. Through the Bangsamoro, we shall strive to build an economy of equal opportunity, where each will enjoy the benefits of good governance, social equity, and most of all, the rule of law in a society of cultural and religious diversity. No one shall be left behind. We have come to envision the Bangsamoro, with its favored location sharing our common borders with our neighbors, as the anchor and sanctuary of common prosperity and collective security in the Philippines, in Asia, and across the globe. The partnership between the MILF and government continues to blossom into a feast of possibilities that continues to excite our neighbors in Asia and beyond. The world community, furthermore, is admiring and excited to see so many women at the forefront of the Bangsamoro peace process. Let us strive to identify and address potential problems and loopholes involving the socio-economic enablement of the newly minted region, the formal establishment of its governance structure, and the most crucial process of normalization. Through this forum, let us identify and strengthen our preparations in developing the means to build the required capacities that will in turn create legitimate and viable, all-inclusive and lasting peace for Mindanao and the entire country. Our work is never-ending, but that is what great journeys are all about. In the end, let me, on behalf of the Philippine government, thank each and every one of you here and the institutions and communities you represent for accompanying us on this unique and historic quest for a just and lasting peace. As we have struggled to overcome every obstacle in the past, let us carry on and never falter, no matter what problems and challenges lie ahead. In January 2012, I ended my speech with these words: I know that in our hearts, peace has won. I said then, I do believe, and I continue to believe, that on the peace table are miracles waiting to happen. Today, I say again, whatever difficulties lie ahead, and we can be sure there will be many, let us not give up. Today, I again say, I believe, and I persist in believing, that miracles await to happen in the post-agreement implementation phase into Bangsamoro's sustained peace and development. Maraming salamat and good day. Arigato gozaimashita.